The death toll from Wednesday's catastrophic flash flood in Nepal has climbed sharply overnight, now standing at more than 150 people confirmed dead, up from just 31 reported in the first hours after the disaster. Nearly 400 travelers remain unaccounted for, dozens of bridges have been destroyed, and search crews are still racing to reach communities that remain completely cut off. Here's the latest on what happened and how quickly this situation has escalated. What happened? A massive flash flood tore through Nepal's Bhote Koshi River early Wednesday morning, around 9 a.m. local time, surging out of the Tibet side of the border and slamming into Nepal's Rasuwa district, a mountainous area of roughly 50,000 people. The settlements of Timur and Sayabrubesi, both sitting directly on the riverbank and both serving as staging points for trekkers and pilgrims heading toward the Langtang Valley and Kailash Mansarovar, took the first and hardest impact. There's been some shift in how officials are describing what actually triggered this flood. Nepal's foreign minister initially told parliament that a preliminary assessment pointed to an earthquake in the high Himalaya, which likely released an avalanche of ice and rock into the river channel, forming a temporary dam that then failed all at once, sending a single violent pulse of water downstream rather than a gradual rise. More recent reporting from Nepali outlets has instead attributed the flood to heavy rainfall in the area. At this stage, both explanations are circulating, and it's genuinely possible more than one factor, unstable ice and rock combined with heavy rain, played a role. We'll continue watching for an official, confirmed cause as investigators complete their assessment. The death toll is climbing fast. This is the part of the story that's changed the most since our last update, and it's worth being precise about the numbers as they've moved. In the first hours after the flood, Bagmati Province Police put the confirmed death toll at 31. Within roughly a day, that number had jumped to 95, with bodies recovered across Nuakot, Dading, Gorkha, Chitwan, Tanahun, and Nawalpur districts, none of them officially identified yet. And as of the most recent reporting, the death toll has climbed even further, now standing at more than 157 confirmed dead. Officials have been consistent about one thing throughout. They expect this number to keep rising substantially because the number of people still unaccounted for is far larger than the confirmed death toll. 63 people are currently being treated for injuries across several hospitals, including Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital in Kathmandu, Rasuwa Hospital, Trishuli Hospital, the National Trauma Center, and Birendra Sainik Hospital. Hundreds still missing. Nepal's tourism board, working from records supplied by trekking and travel agencies, has identified 384 travelers as missing, 291 foreign nationals, and 93 Nepali citizens. The list reflects just how heavily this corridor is used by international travelers. Roughly 105 Indian citizens are among the missing, along with 12 British nationals, 17 Malaysians, 4 South Africans, and travelers from Australia, the Netherlands, and the United States. Beyond the tourism sector, the missing list has grown to include a significant number of workers and security personnel. 85 security personnel are unaccounted for, 44 from the Nepal Army, 28 from Nepal Police, and 13 from the Armed Police Force. Around 60 employees working at local hydropower projects are also missing, including 8 South Korean workers connected to a hydropower site, with 10 more South Korean nationals reported stranded at the Upper Trishuli 1 hydroelectric facility in Rasuwa. In response, South Korea has mobilized an emergency joint task force combining its foreign ministry, National Fire Agency, and National Police Agency to deploy directly to Nepal. Authorities have stressed that many people on the missing list may simply be out of contact rather than confirmed casualties, given how thoroughly phone and internet service has been knocked out across the affected region. Rescue operations under extreme conditions. Rescue work has been genuinely difficult from the start. Army helicopters couldn't land in the worst-hit areas while the river remained above its normal channel, forcing crews to winch survivors directly off rooftops and out of standing mud. Nepali Army spokesperson Rajaram Basnet said the Army has successfully rescued 88 people so far, with 13 injured individuals taken to Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital and others treated at Trishuli Camp or moved to safety. 12 helicopters have now been mobilized for the rescue effort, though severe weather has repeatedly forced flights to turn back to Kathmandu shortly after launching toward Rasuwa. At least a dozen people were airlifted out of the district before conditions closed the window again. The scale of the destruction. The infrastructure damage here has turned out to be far more extensive than initial reports suggested. 19 motorable bridges have been destroyed, along with 40 kilometers of paved road, severing communications and access across multiple districts simultaneously. Around 60 houses near Trishuli Bazaar were swept away entirely, and residents have described watching cars, cargo containers, and entire sections of buildings tumble past in the current, with mud burying ground floors and courtyards many kilometers from where the flood originated. Nepal's power grid absorbed a heavy hit as well. The Energy Ministry reported that roughly 430 megawatts of generation capacity, more than 12% of the country's total installed hydropower capacity, has been knocked offline, almost all of it hydroelectric. The Rasuwa Gadi, Sanjen, Saladal, Upper Trishuli 3A, Chilimay, and Melung Kola facilities were all directly in the flood's path. The customs complex at Rasuwa, one of Nepal's main trade gateways to China, was overrun, with vehicles and stored goods swept away and a recently completed bridge at the crossing destroyed outright. Cross-border commercial traffic between Nepal and China has stopped entirely. On the Chinese side of the border, state media has reported major casualties and missing persons at the Geelong port checkpoint, where the slide crossed the frontier. Roads, communications, and power in that surrounding area were also cut, and Chinese authorities have warned that routes there remain at risk of further slides. Chinese leadership has ordered an all-out search effort and stronger early warning measures against secondary events, with relief supplies now moving into the affected county. No official casualty figures have been released from the Chinese side as of this update. Downstream risk and what comes next. Downstream districts remain on high alert. The Bhote, Koshi, and Trishuli rivers eventually feed into the Gandak River system, which crosses into India, and security has been increased at the Valmiki Nagar barrage on the Indian side. Nepal's prime minister has said police and military units have joined the rescue effort and has ordered residents in low-lying areas along the affected rivers move to safer ground as a precaution. This isn't the first time this exact stretch of river has produced a disaster like this. Just over a year ago, a flash flood tore down the same corridor, killing 9 people, leaving more than 20 missing, and washing away the Meteri Bridge linking Nepal and China. That event was traced to the sudden draining of a superglacial lake north of the border. Scientists studying the broader Himalayan region have documented a consistent pattern behind these events. Warming temperatures are destabilizing ice, thawing frozen ground that once held steep slopes together, and swelling meltwater ponds perched on and behind glaciers, ponds held back only by loose moraine and ice, not engineered structures. Add in seismic activity across one of the most tectonically active mountain ranges on Earth, and the result is a growing number of high-energy floods that arrive without rainfall, without a storm warning, and without time for anyone downstream to react. Search and recovery operations continue across Rasuwa, Nuwakot, and Dading. Officials have been direct that many communities remain unreachable by road, that the scale of loss in the upper valley is still unknown, and that the confirmed death toll is likely to climb well beyond current figures as rescue teams finally reach the areas closest to where the disaster began.